Good morning, people. Hope everything's good. Video, audio, everything. It is Monday, July 22nd. So we're coming into a new week, and July is almost over as it stands. And there was a lot of news that came out this weekend over the past few weeks. We've seen a lot of stuff politically out of the US, and I always like to preface that I'm not American, right? I don't want to be political at all. I'm just dropping the news here. Whatever we have, I think is going to be fairly important. So let's just take a look at what has come out, right, from a non opinionated slash non biased perspective. So we had a lot of news over this past weekend. On Thursday, I believe the rumors started floating around that Biden was going to abandon his reelection, right? And a lot of overwhelming pressure that was coming out. Right, this came out on Thursday. A lot of overwhelming pressure that senior Democrats were kind of pushing for this. Now, we saw it coming from last week, and it was expected to drop this weekend. So yesterday we got that news, and he has even endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris to be the party's new presidential nominee. With a month to go before the DNC and only 100 days until the general election, state Democratic Party chairs have since thrown their weight behind her candidacy, though other prominent Democrats are calling for an open process to nominate a candidate. Possible challengers might be in the mix. And while others will likely wait until she picks a running mate before some of that is challenged. So things have only spiraled for Biden since halting performance at the June 27 presidential debate. A rebound in subsequent press conferences and interviews never materialized, with blunders like mixing up names of Harris and Trump, as well as Zelensky and Putin, and referring to the Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin as quote unquote the black man. Jesus. So, in contrast, Biden's incoherent sentences, his chief rival, and has been making headlines for his perseverance, especially after the assassination attempt that we saw during the campaign rally in Pennsylvania, which led to iconic photographs of bloody Trump holding his fist in defiance. Now, in terms of the market, stock futures opened mildly high with a bid that transpired throughout pretty much the whole overnight session. We opened the Sunday overnight session about 55-65 area, give or take a few points, and we've since rallied about 30 points into the peak of the overnight session, slightly pulling back right now, but a pretty strong bid has come through after Biden's formally passed the torch to Harris, with no significant policy uncertainty seen as extending from the latest announcement. And she is a staunch defender of Biden's economic approach, such as upgrading infrastructure, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, subsidies for green projects, the Inflation Reduction Act, and reshoring critical industries like chips and science, and is also largely expected to stick to his foreign policy playbook. So Harris's next interaction with the press will be today at 11:30 a.m. Eastern during an event on the South Lawn celebrating the NCAA championship teams. So as we see what's going on right now, we'll kind of play it by ear, as a lot of this news and political pressure is going to be entering the markets. So we want to be very cautious about that, because volume is going to increase. We're going to see increases in volatility as well, as we've seen over the past few weeks, especially last week, as markets did take a little stumble as tech continues to sell off. And we're going to see how this transpires as this news continues to unravel and we get more information. The market prices in more information. But right now, we've seen a little pop in these markets after multiple days of downside momentum. And we could be in for a slight structural shift to see that buy side come in to start the week before potentially we'll see the downside open up yet again. So I'm expecting a slightly higher low into the summer seasonality before we start to see prices readjust a little more down to areas that we haven't seen in weeks and months so far. So let's take a look at some of the other news that's populating these markets, right? Rate cuts in different economies and different areas, right? The People's Bank of China has become the latest central bank to cut interest rates, a move aimed at strengthening counter-cyclical adjustments to better support the real economy. China's economy has been struggling as of late, with The most recent GDP reading missing estimates and June retail sales rising at the slowest pace since December 2022. Over the weekend, the country also unveiled plans to boost finances, have indebted local governments by shifting more tax revenue from central coffers following the ruling of the Communist Party's third, well, something fell, plenum. So we've seen that the EU has also cut rates before the US. The US, we have the next Fed announcement rate decision, which comes out at the end of this month, July 31st, if I'm not mistaken. So that's next week, after this week, next week. And we'll see. They're still pricing in 2 rate cuts by the end of this year. So most likely September is going to be the first one. So we'll see how anything has changed based on recent price action in this equity market. So some of the other news, right? Spot Ethereum ETFs are expected to begin trading tomorrow, but crypto traders appear to be estimating the full impact of the highly anticipated launch. So Ether has risen some 49, almost 50% this year with a wider crypto rally, but its performance has been poor relative to its peers, according to some analysts. And while the SEC approved key requirements from the prospective spot ETF, issuers such as BlackRock and VanEck, their S1 filings are yet to be greenlit, and if approved, crypto experts see Ether rising over 25% and ETF flows crossing the $20 billion mark in the initial months. So if we take a look at how that shapes up here, ETH, USD, we'll just go like that. Decent little upside move over this last, I guess, support structure here. Still hasn't breached into these highs, right? Slightly lower highs, while BTC has seen some more expansive rally. Again, very similar picture over here. Now, we talked a lot about tech last week, and Nvidia, along with other big tech names, are on the watch list. Nvidia coming into this average, I believe it might be a 50. Yeah, this 50-day average over here and holding out around that 116. If that breaks, right, there's very limited volume until we get back towards that $9,500 level. So it's going to be a lot of eyes on big tech, right? The Magnificent Seven, Microsoft trying to catch a bid from last Friday before it enters into a larger distribution to the downside. Apple, most recently, infamously breaking all-time highs continuously several sessions in a row, hasn't pulled back that hard. The 50-day average finds itself around the 208 area. And then we have names like Google and Amazon, which are starting to pull down. Gaps all across the board here pre-market today. Amazon pulling down after we tagged that $200 level, and Bezos was dumping very, very large positions. So as we start the week, I'll be focused on these equity markets, and I think that we could be in for a slight little pull down here off the open before better buyers, new buyers come in at lower levels, because we're starting to change that distribution structural kind of appearance in these markets. We tried to move into a distribution lower last week. We closed within it, right, between that 55.60, 55.65 area top. And now we're moving back above it with some sellers eagerly trying to hold out 55.85 for this attempted push back into the distribution. But these changes in structures in these auctions, if we can hold 55.60, 55.65 on pullbacks, we could see a potential move higher towards that 56.30, which I would, if I was a buyer and keen on this, I'd look to take advantage of that to start the week if I was a big player, to see if we can get that push higher and better sellers come in at a lower high on a multi-day basis. So with that, right, that's what I'm going to be looking for today. I'm going to be looking for a little more upside pressure into some areas where better sellers can come through. And let's open up our live trading room and see how that shapes up. So I'll see you guys in there. Check out community.tradeproacademy.com for our open Discord, and we'll continue for the rest of the week. Back at the desk today, feeling good about this, and usually like every Monday, we want to take it slow and get the information as it comes to give us a better understanding of how these markets want to shape up throughout the beginning of the week and right towards I guess structural shifts like this one, especially when we have a lot of news that's been hitting the wire as of recent. We want to be very diligent and understand the risks associated with that so we don't go crazy. So let's open up our live